Section 3. And the big idea here is that once more the Constitution gives the legislative branch, that is Congress, the power to make laws, which effectively means they develop the policy. Whatever that policy may be, they develop it. Other people carry out their laws. Other people are left to interpret their laws. But these people have an enormous amount of power. And ironically, they're the ones that we're likely to get in this room, because they're also our closest connection to our government. So, some terms that we'll see. Lobbyist, casework. Lobbyist, and we'll get to the context here, these are people who influence lawmakers, and sometimes this can feel a little bit corrupt, but they have a specific purpose too. We'll get to some privileges that lawmakers enjoy. We'll get to some pet projects called pork barrel that they have. I'll start with the question here. Should members of Congress be allowed to spend federal funds on projects that only help their home district or state? For example, the Green River is in Mark Meadows' district. He's my United States representative. I'm not going to bother him about this when he comes to speak to us, because it really is not relevant to the class. But if I were to ask him, hey, the Tuxedo Dam's being sold, I would like a guarantee that there's going to continue to be water flowing through there. Can you promise that to me? Well, to promise that, there would have to be federal funds behind that, some type of new relicensing. It would cost lots of money for him to actually promise and guarantee that. And that would be money, federal funds, that he's delegating for a very specific project just to get my vote. Which, frankly, he doesn't need my vote that bad. He might get 100, maybe he'll get 1,000 votes out of that. But he's got to think about the bigger picture. And so again, should members of Congress be allowed to spend federal money? And it's always been a contentious issue. So as we get into some of the implications of who these people are and their privileges, we've got to think about the diverse group of people that represent us. So, what are some of their qualifications? A lot of you guys mentioned age. To be a United States Senator, you must be at least 30 years old. This is for a United States Senator. North Carolina has slightly different rules. To be a United States Congressman, that is a member of the House of Representatives, you must be at least 25 years old. So you don't have to be that old to go into politics. Now, granted, most of these U.S. senators and most of these U.S. congressmen started out in local or state politics. When we get Cody Henson in the room and Group 1's working on that, you'll notice he's not that old. You'll also notice that he's rather new to politics. I think this is like year 2 for him, and he's up for re-election. And he's a nice guy, but he's definitely a freshman congressman. That's what they call it. When you're in your first term, you're called a freshman congressman. And it has every connotation that we think of freshmen in a high school.
Oh gosh.
He's a nice guy, but he's new. He's got a lot to learn. He's got a long ways to go. He's hoping to make a full political career and maybe eventually go into the U.S. House of Representatives. Or who knows. And he'll certainly be old enough to qualify when he gets there. I think he's like maybe 27, maybe 26. So again, he's old enough to qualify, but he's got a little ways to go before he starts thinking about a larger campaign. So, other qualifications. Citizenship. You don't have to have been born in this country to become a representative. But you do have to have been a citizen for a set amount of time. We don't want someone moving to this country, gaining citizenship, and immediately entering politics. The Constitution has a safeguard for that. And so it specifies that you must have been a citizen for at least 9 years to be a U.S. senator, and at least 7 years to have been a member of the House of Representatives. And once more, this is to prevent the undue influence of someone who might be persuaded to come into our country for the specific purpose of corrupting our political system. Next, residency. If you want to represent a group of people, it stands to reason that you need to live among them. And we had to put it in writing because otherwise we might have someone from North Carolina seeking to represent the state of Montana, which, if you live in Montana, you have a completely different lifestyle than if you live here. Montana is covered in snow almost 6 months out of the year. So you can imagine that your life will be a lot different than if you live in the sunny South. Okay, so what comes along with this? It's a little dated. I mean, I should probably update this. That salary is, I'd say maybe 7 years old at this point. So I need to update that. But it's not bad, right? Even if you adjust for inflation, it's a little more today, obviously. Not bad to be a U.S. senator. What else comes with it? Well, you get the franking privilege. That is the right to send job-related mail without paying postage. And I know that's not as exciting these days, but when you think that mail at the writing of the Constitution was once the only way of communicating, and it cost money, and the Stamp Act, after all, was one of the big things that we had grief about. So it must have been expensive to send things. So this was actually written in as a privilege. What else? Oh yeah, by the way, you are often protected legally in certain situations. There's a legal team that represents you, and in many cases you are protected from certain laws. And then finally, low-cost life insurance. Why not? Okay, so there are benefits. There's retirement package, there's insurance, just like any other career-related job. You have a team of staff. For example, say you ask Congressman Meadows about a very specific thing. I want you guys to come up with questions. We'll get to those in a little bit. Maybe you have a question that's just been bugging you. Like I had a student last year who asked every one of our representatives about the ghost gun controversy. I didn't know about this, but apparently you can you can download plans for a gun, and you can 3D print the gun using those plans, and then you don't have to register it. And so it's called the ghost gun controversy, about how do we stop that? Because really it's tricky how to stop that. And so she asked every one of them about the ghost gun, and every one of them said, well, I have no clue, to be honest. They said they'll be happy to look into it, but they really it's not something they were immediately aware of. And so fair enough. They have a whole staff that when they have to make a decision, these people read the fine print. Okay, so who are these staff? Well, some of them are personal staff. For example, Vaughn's been in touch with Mallory Rasher. That's Mark Meadows' assistant. She's the one who lined up the White House, the Capitol, all of the fancy tours that we did on our D.C. trip. She did all that for us. She was awesome. Though Mark Meadows' office handled all of our bookings, she did all the work. Maybe he got the credit, but again, without his staff, it would be difficult to run anything. Also, there are lobbyists. Lobbyists. These are representatives of an interest group who contact lawmakers or other government officials directly to influence their policy making. Now, I have a lot of experience calling corporations and large groups to try to get things done. And I've done a fair amount of that. And I'll tell you what, calling when you're only representing yourself can be a very frustrating experience. Or emailing especially. You're just not likely to hear back from people, or if you are, you'll get some type of form reply, or you'll get some type of polite dismissal. Yeah, that's how politics works. Because when Meadows is trying to make a decision, he's not trying to think about what does Matt Witt want. He's trying to think about what does the 80,000 people I represent want. What do they think? And how does that jive with the interest of the country? And so he's trying to look big picture. So that's why we have lobbyists. For example, schools have lobbyists. Teachers' unions have lobbyists. And teachers have specific interests. The most common one is, we'd like more money, thank you. And so we have people who lobby on our behalf. And these people call up Mark Meadows. And they say, we'd like more money, thank you. By the way, I'm representing 10,000 registered voters in your district alone. Thank you. And they have all committed to vote the way that we've decided to vote. So 10,000 votes rides on more money, thank you. And guess what? This year, we got more money, thank you. Because that's exactly how we did it. That, and we threatened to shut down all the schools in the state. That was going on in the spring. Yeah, and that nearly happened. We were in talks. So part of that was we had lobbyists contacting these Congress people. More money, thank you. We're behind the rest of the country. It's a very simple request. And we threatened to, here's what happens if we don't. We will all take our personal leave and we will all shut down the schools. And we demonstrated that back in the spring, and we shut down schools across the state. Anyway, yeah.
We should have
Next, they also have a committee staff. These are the people, so let's say the teachers have brought this issue to Meadows' attention. More money, thank you. Okay, so his staff has done the research, and he's found, oh yeah, by the way, North Carolina teachers are some of the lowest paid in the country. Fun fact. And secondly, since we got it to work, and granted that was handled at the state level, so that would actually been Cody Henson's job. We can ask him about it later. He would also have a committee staff. To help him, let's say he says, oh yeah, I'm going to take that idea and I'm going to run with it. Well, now I've got to draw it up in fancy legalese, because it has to look official. It has to have the specific wording. You can't just say more money, thank you. You got to actually put it in a very specific verbiage. And that's where there's a whole staff of professionals to do this. And they draft, meaning to create an outline of bills, which are baby laws that are then presented in committee and then eventually presented to the floor, and then it goes through the whole shenanigans. Okay. There are also agencies and resources to help these people make decisions. The Library of Congress is more than just a collection of books. It represents an entire department of trained researchers who can look into legal matters and find specific documents. Precedents are an important part of law. For example, how did we do it last time? Did it work? Cool, let's do that again. Well, somebody's got to find, how did we do it last time? Because last time might have been 1783. And somebody's got to find that document that verifies how did we do it last time and did it work? And so again, that's where these people come in. And secondly, the budget office, because we got to figure out, do we have the money to pay for it? Oh, teachers want more money. Sweet. Do we have any money? Oh, we got money. Cool. Let's give them money. Yay. Everybody's happy. Okay. What is the most important task? You tell me. Now, Congress at work. There are 535 of these people. Oops. And they do very important things. Now, Here's the thing. If you ever get to, and I'm just waiting, I mean, maybe by the time I retire, I'll have done enough of these DC trips that I will finally catch all these people in the same room. That's my goal at this point, is to see Congress in session. Because you don't often see it. You're not likely to luck out and catch them while they're in session because most of the work in Congress is done when they're not in session. But here's the three things that happen when they are. There's making laws. That's where they vote on the stuff. That's where you might get to see them in the room. Yay. Most of the stuff they're doing, though, is in their offices or in conference rooms. When we meet Meadows, of course, the common thing he'll say is, hey, when you're in D.C., drop on by. Yeah, we had that invitation to drop by his office, though I thought 48 people cramming into an office didn't quite make sense, so we skipped that part of the tour. But he was likely in his office doing casework, meaning taking calls from the Jamies of the world, and the Jamies of the world have their own specific interests, and they're calling Meadows about it, and he's trying to figure out, do the Jamies of the world jive with what the 80,000 people in my district want? And that's casework. Okay, so how do you make a law? So first off, a law starts as a bill. And if you know the song, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. So Jamie has called Meadows with a specific concern. I want the right to blast my music at whatever volume I see fit down Main Street in Hendersonville. Very specific. But that's what he wants. He wants everyone to be able to hear his Justin Bieber collection. He's really excited about it. And he just wants everybody to hear the new Bieber album. Now, if we're going to get that passed, because there's a noise ordinance in Hendersonville, so we've got to override that. Let's say he convinces Meadows to run with this. So Meadows now has the new Jamie Bumpin' Bieber down Main Street bill. And
but it's only Justin Bieber
and just Jamie. And so now we got to figure this out. So we're going to write the bill. He's got his legal team on this. They're going to write it up all fancy and proper. And next he's going to throw this out there. He might tweet about it. He might, again, in some way he's going to begin to solicit public opinion. And, hey, what do you guys think of allowing Jamie to listen to his Bieber album? There's any objections? I object. I mean, come on. I'm walking down Main Street. That's the last thing I want to hear. I mean, okay, crying babies, okay, sick people, traffic, random guy cursing in the street. I can deal with that, but not Justin Bieber. Well, finally, let's say there are no serious objections. We're ready to roll with this. It's passed committee, meaning that he's also ran it by his colleagues, his other lawmakers. They've said, yeah, I think we can live with that. We're going to vote for it. It's going to make it to the floor. Now, for it to be something that Meadows is going to deal with, it's going to have to be something that affects the country. Because when we talk to Meadows and you begin to ask him specific Henderson County questions, he can speak generally, but he's really thinking about how does Henderson County's interest jive with the nation.
Woo, you sure got to climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee, but I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will, but today I am still just a bill.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, you're right, there ought to be a law. Then he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. How I hope and pray that they will, but today I am still just a bill.
Listen to those congressmen arguing. Is all that discussion and debate about you?
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die.
Die?
Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm gonna live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be a law. How I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so
By
old.
that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it?
No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
He signed your bill. Now you're a law.
Oh, yes.
All right, so you want a law passed. Congratulations. You want something in life. That's good. But what do we need to make that happen? Well, first off, there's casework. That is, a constituent, Addie, calls with a problem. Oh, excuse me. A constituent calls with a problem, and it's specific. What the lawmaker has to decide is, does that problem reflect the interest of enough constituents to warrant a solution? Is this a legitimate problem? And all of that figuring is called casework. Now, there are some projects called pork barrel projects. These are government projects and grants that primarily benefit the home district. You know, the guaranteeing water for the Green River would benefit our home district, you know. Wilderness Cove needs that river to run their tubing operations. Green River Adventures relies on that for their business. But that's a specific need that benefits a specific district. And so if we're going to allocate federal funding to guarantee releases, repairs, maintenance, etc., for this dam, well, that would absolutely be a pork barrel project. While I would like that idea, I have to acknowledge that it does not benefit the entire nation as a whole. So, is it more important for Congress to spend more of their time on lawmaking or dealing with requests from constituents? Ultimately, they have an obligation to do both. And hopefully an effective lawmaker would do both well.